All right, so we're talking about sources. We're going to need to use sources in our essay. Now, what does this mean? It does not mean that I want you to find something and then copy their argument. It does not mean that I want you to respond to someone else. It means that you're going to make your own argument. I want you to make your own argument, and that argument is going to need support. That argument is going to need evidence, and you're going to look for evidence to back up your thesis, to back up your argument, to back up your claim, right? You're going to look for evidence in the VU Online Library and in your textbook. Now, at this point, all I really want you to do is think about this. As far as the requirements for the argumentative essay, you have to find one source from the textbook that you're going to use in your essay. Now, that will limit you as far as what you can argue about. And the reason why I did that is because I used to get people that would want to argue like weird story, conspiracy things like aliens and all this other stuff. And so I had to rein it in a little bit. So there's a lot of topics that are discussed in our textbook. And there are a lot of topics that are not specifically discussed in the textbook that you could still use one of the articles as support for another argument that isn't specifically in the textbook. But the whole point is you need to be able to use something from the textbook as a source of evidence to back something else up. So for instance, it may not be, like you might use, let's see, Michael Pollan's article about, going green and all these things. Maybe you're not even really writing an essay about ecology or, environmentalism. Maybe you're writing an essay specifically about, maybe you're trying to argue about something with agriculture. Well, he talks about growing your own gardens in that essay. The essay is not about agriculture specifically, but you could use that as a source to boost your argument about something with agriculture, okay? So you can get creative with this, but you still need to have it somewhat tied to something that's talked about in the book. So this can be any reading that we've already done this semester, or it can also be, other readings, but it has to be from the textbook, okay? You have to have one source that you're going to use from the textbook, and you're going to cite that one appropriately. You're also going to have two other sources, and that will be from the VU Online Library. I'll have a video on how to use the VU Online Library to get your sources. But it's not really hard. And remember that those sources, you're going to cite both of those as well. And I'll show you in the next video, in one of the videos that you're going to watch later on, how that will work. And so those are the three sources that you have to have in order to not get a failing grade automatically for this essay. You have to use sources, and those sources are there to help support your argument. Now, you can also use a source to bounce your argument off of. For instance, you're going to have a paragraph in this essay called the refutation, where you will say, well, some people think this, or some people might say this to my argument, but this is where they're wrong. And maybe you'll point to an article that makes an argument that's opposed to your argument. And you can use that article and say, well, so-and-so says this, but he's wrong because of this reason. And you'll have a whole paragraph dedicated to proving that particular article's point wrong. That's fine to do as well. You can use, as long as you're using those three sources, you can use them however you feel is helpful to making your argument a successful argument with your audience. Okay, hopefully that helps. If not, ask me in my office hours. I do virtual office hours, and I would be happy to help you as long as you're asking for help. I cannot read your mind, but I do want to help you out. And so check that out. And just think about, this is what we have to do. We have to have those three sources, and this is how we can possibly use those three sources. We can use them as support, or we can also use them as things where we're going to overcome those people's arguments that would be in conflict with the argument that we're making. All right, guys, hopefully that helps. Go ahead and get to work.